All right, with me on the phone is Lucas Overby. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing well on my ride back from Tallahassee.
Well, it's great news today. I got the post up today. Brian Cole, he writes for Examiner. He has contributed with us, and it's a congratulations is in order. The Libertarian Party kind of rallied the troops, had a major fundraiser to get you on the special election ballot. So how does that feel? It's got to be pretty exciting times.
We're glad that the roller coaster ended on this note. We last week had turned in petitions and thought we would qualify that way, and the SOE had different plans. So Friday we went into fundraising mode to raise the just about $11,000 that we needed to buy our way on for access. We were able to do that by yesterday.
And you were already campaigning for Bill Young's seat, correct?
That's correct. We announced our campaign this past February and have been campaigning since then.
So tell me a little bit about, because I know Alex Sink is in the race. Is there a Republican that's been officially announced?
Actually, as of last night, there's going to be a Republican primary, from what we understand.
Okay.
That was announced last minute. So it's Alex Sink, and then in the primary for the Republicans, I believe it's David Jolly and Kathleen Peters.
Okay. All right. So the race is underway. We'll have a special election in the early part of 2014 ahead of the 2014 election. So basically you'll be campaigning twice for the same seat. If they win the seat in the spring, then I guess they will still be up for re-election in November. So let me get a little bit of some framework here for our listeners and readers that may not be real familiar with you, Lucas. What are some of the primary objectives that you're running on your campaign for Pinellas County?
We originally for the November election and last year have been running primarily on tax reform, on entitlement and welfare reform, program reform. And I've been working with trying to figure out ways to either decrease or eliminate corporate welfare. Have been some of our biggest focuses. With when we're going to be entering the House now, and with our race being in March, we're going to be very much focused on the financial aspect, specifically because in January and in February we're going to be, as a nation, revisiting the debt ceiling and revisiting the budget. And the ramifications are very big this time. So a lot of it's going to depend on what happens in January, how we end up ending the campaign, and what tact we end up taking. We've been primarily focused on immediate short-term solutions, ideas that we think we can get passed in a reasonably effective amount of time, and that would help citizens now.
On that note, because I know we just finished up the government shutdown, I think the biggest benefit to the government shutdown that I have said publicly was that at least it raised some awareness to some of the debt problems and some of the individual departments that are really running up an exorbitant amount of expense under the guise of, quote, unnecessary workers. So with the government shutdown, what are some of the things that you think, what are some of the major departments, for instance, that you think are areas that we could, sort of like the low-lying fruit, they should be easy cuts that both parties can kind of agree on?
I think getting both parties to agree on cutting anything is going to be very difficult, to be honest with you.
That's true.
But our tact on that has been the duplicate offices. Every state has an EPA. Every state has a Department of Labor. Every state has a Department of Education. We have these things in our own states that are much closer to us and know much better what's good for us. So what I'd like to see is we start going after downsizing those larger federal departments that we don't really need. If we could get them down to elimination in some cases, that'd be fantastic. I don't think that's a very realistic short-term goal, but in the near term, I would love to see state departments start to take over their own business, help their own industries, maybe be dedicated to themselves and not have to have the federal government reaching out so far. I think it helps us in multiple areas, less spending from the federal government, and it's going to be less cost generated by local businesses.
Obamacare is back in the headlines again, and I don't really foresee it ending. And it will at least be high profile up until your special election. likely into November as well. Where do you stand on this law, and what can be done to it? Because the Democratic Party are being very protective of it at all costs. The Republicans don't appear to have a plan of any kind. The American people, I think, are kind of caught in the middle where they don't even know exactly how the bill will affect them personally. So, Lucas, where do you come down on the bill, and what do you see as a short-term fix, and what do you think is a long-term fix for, let's say, healthcare reform?
Well, I think the first thing for long-term fix on healthcare reform is we need to actually start focusing on healthcare. We went through, it's like deja vu, we went through the same thing with Hillary Care in the 90s. And the counter proposal to that was Newt Care, and unfortunately, that's very similar to what we got with Obamacare. We've been passing around the same tired ideas on insurance is the problem, and I think we need to start attacking the core, which we can do at the federal level by getting the federal government out of the way. A large driving factor of the cost of healthcare is inside of government regulations, government licensing, all from the federal side that doubles and triples in some states on top of doctors. The insurance companies, no matter how evil people want to use them, they're still a reactionary industry. And if doctors, we're already starting to see it here in Florida, where we have essentially black market doctors. They don't accept any sort of insurance. They don't accept Medicare, Medicaid. They accept cash and cash only. But they're cheaper than any other doctor in the area. And I think if we can start backing off the federal government, start making it easier to do business, we're going to see a diminished cost of care. I would love to see everybody be able to get healthcare, get affordable healthcare. I think that's an honorable goal. I don't think the government screwing with insurance is going to get us there, as we've obviously seen. There's only been 3 states that have reported a decrease in overall premiums. Florida's getting trampled right now with increased premiums. It's amazingly bad. Near-term solution, a lot of it's going to depend what happens going into the new year. At this point, all plans have been thrown out the window on it with how rapidly it's deteriorated. There's a very solid chance they can get rid of the individual mandate here very quickly, at least for a year, which would give us some time to negotiate. Unfortunately, we can't take the standard libertarian mantra, we're going to go up there, we're going to storm the gates, and we're going to get this done. It is going to take negotiating, and it is going to take forms of staged compromise. There is extraordinarily little inside of Obamacare that's any good. There are some key provisions that the Democrats like that we may be able to keep without doing massive damage to everyone if we can get things like individual mandate out of the way, if we can negotiate helping diminish the actual cost of care. I think there is some short-term solutions that we could come up with that both sides would agree to.
Thank you so much. I'm talking to Lucas Overby. He's the Libertarian candidate. He will be on the ballot for the special election coming up in the spring for the seat in Pinellas County that was vacated by the late Bill Young. Lucas, give us a website where people can find out more information, where they can contact you, maybe make a donation.
Our website is lucasoverby.com, LucaSoverby.com. For contact, the best way to get a hold of me is through our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/Lucas Overby for Congress, FOR Congress. I personally respond to all the letters that come in, so if you do write me on there and it takes a minute, just know that I'm the one that's responding, so sometimes it can take a couple of days.
That's fantastic. Well, I appreciate your time and squeezing us in. We definitely will talk again before the special election, and good luck to you, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
All right, take care.